Today is Monday, November 20th. We'll tell you why the world is honoring one of the most influential first ladies in U.S. history and the legacy she leaves behind. Also, we'll update you about what was found inside Gaza's largest hospital that's still at the center of a growing war. Plus, two different well-known tech companies are facing turmoil for different reasons, why X and OpenAI seem to be scrambling. The second test flight of the biggest rocket ever built exploded again. And can you expect this year's Thanksgiving meal to be more or less expensive than last year's? What do you think? We'll explain. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. People all over the world are now paying tribute to one of the most influential first ladies in American history. Rosalind Carter died yesterday at 96 years old, just 2 days after the Carter Center announced she was in hospice care. During the Carter administration, Rosalind was President Jimmy Carter's closest political advisor, and he said so at the time. She also revolutionized the role of First Lady, making it about more than hostess duties for the first time. Rosalind Carter actually attended cabinet meetings and was only the second First Lady to testify before Congress. In fact, it was actually Rosalind who suggested that President Carter gave his famous crisis of confidence speech to the nation. But her main focus was mental health, framing it as a basic human right. She was also an advocate for equal rights and opportunities for women and girls, elder care, and the empowerment of urban communities. And every living former president put out statements praising her contributions, but none more than her husband of more than 75 years, former President Jimmy Carter, who is now 99 years old and in hospice himself. His statement says, quote, "Rosalind was my equal partner in everything I ever accomplished." Israeli officials have confirmed they soon plan to start ground operations in southern Gaza, now that most of northern Gaza has been wiped out. But while Israel prepares to advance, other world leaders are asking for restraint. Even top officials in the Biden administration have started to publicly raise concerns about how much is being lost in Gaza, despite their steadfast support for Israel. And the White House is now investigating even more Israeli strikes that have happened at Gaza's schools recently that thousands of civilians have been using as shelters. Remember, Gaza's largest hospital was also once used as a shelter for tens of thousands of war refugees. But people have been evacuating in recent days, since Israeli troops have raided the hospital too, on what they say is a mission to root out hidden Hamas facilities, emphasizing that Hamas uses civilians as human shields. Well, now it is a site of more ruin. A UN assessment team that reached the hospital over the weekend raised concerns about the situation inside, calling it a death zone. And Israel is facing growing pressure to prove that the hospital really was being used for terror purposes. So over the weekend, the Israeli military released a video showing a newly exposed tunnel at the hospital compound. The camera goes through the tunnel until it reaches a closed metal door. Israel says its troops have not opened that door yet, since they're afraid it could be booby-trapped. The Israeli military also released videos and photos that seem to show hostages in the hospital last month on the day Israel was attacked by Hamas. Though Hamas claims it only took hostages to get medical help after they were injured in Israeli airstrikes. Either way, it's believed that Hamas is still holding most of them captive, as several world leaders try to broker a deal to free them. Meanwhile, new deals have been made to get the people in Gaza at least a little bit of relief. A U.S. State Department official now says Israel will allow 2 fuel trucks a day to enter the Gaza Strip, something that hasn't been allowed since the very start of this war. Most of it will go to the trucks delivering aid. The rest will be able to power Gaza's sewage and wastewater treatment systems, as well as mobile phone and internet services, which have all been cut off due to the lack of fuel. Still, many international organizations say what's being allowed is not nearly enough, and they plan to keep pushing for more. To be continued. There are even more signs now that the war in the Middle East is intensifying outside of Gaza. Yesterday, Iranian-backed rebels out of Yemen seized an Israeli-linked cargo ship in a crucial Red Sea shipping route, and 25 crew members were taken hostage, even though none of them were Israeli. Now the rebels say they'll keep hijacking ships in international waters linked to Israelis until Israel ends its war against Hamas. But this isn't the first time this militant group has gotten involved. The Israeli government has said the group out of Yemen has also been launching bombs at Israel as recently as this past weekend. And twice in the last month, American warships have intercepted missiles or drones from Yemen that were believed to either be headed toward Israel or other U.S. vessels. The U.S. has stationed multiple ships in the area since the war broke out last month. The biggest and most powerful rocket ever built blew up again. SpaceX says the Starship rocket booster exploded shortly after takeoff during its second test flight in South Texas over the weekend. The FAA says there are no reports of injuries or property damage on the ground, but it will investigate. This is the second test flight that exploded in the past 7 months. Still, SpaceX is celebrating its Starship rocket program, saying the issues from the first test flight were fixed and that this time it actually reached space and didn't do the same kind of damage as the last launch. How quickly SpaceX can resolve the Starship issues could determine how soon NASA astronauts return to the moon. These deep space rockets are meant to one day transport astronauts and non-scientists to the moon, Mars, and beyond. All right, we have much more news for you still ahead. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. If you want to be that person who gives all your people a thoughtful and unique gift this holiday season, but without the added stress, I have your secret weapon. It's called Uncommon Goods. Even before Uncommon Goods became a sponsor of ours, they were my go-to place to browse and buy when I did not already have a gift idea for someone. Uncommon Goods scours the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list. Whether your person is a coffee, wine, or book lover, a gardener or a chef, a hiker, traveler, entertainer, or homebody, there is truly something for everyone and at gift-friendly price points. It's such an easy way to support artists and small independent businesses too. I also love that with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $2.5 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/newsworthy. That's uncommongoods.com/newsworthy for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. Okay, now back to the news. Today, President Biden is kicking off Thanksgiving week, as presidents always do, with the White House turkey pardon. That's the fun ceremony presidents have been holding for decades now, where they let turkeys live out a good life instead of becoming food. This year, the turkeys are named Liberty and Belle. But they're not the only ones getting celebrated. President Biden, already the oldest president in U.S. history, is turning 81 years old today, though he has no plans for a big public celebration. Some welcomed news for commuters and travelers in Los Angeles this morning. The major freeway that was shut down because of a massive fire is now back open earlier than expected and well ahead of the holiday weekend. The California Highway Patrol says traffic began flowing again last night on the mile-long stretch of I-10 in downtown LA. It had been shut down for more than a week, slowing traffic for hundreds of thousands of people in the area. Initial estimates had said it would take 3 to 5 weeks to repair, even with an all-hands-on-deck 24/7 operation. By the way, investigators still think someone set that fire on purpose, and they did release a picture of a person of interest over the weekend. Several major companies are now pulling their ads from X, as in what used to be Twitter. Just some of the advertisers who have left in the last few days include IBM, Apple, Disney, Comcast, Paramount Global, Sony, and many more. It's likely related to something the company's owner, Elon Musk, wrote. He was responding to an X user who accused Jewish people of pushing hatred against whites and supporting hordes of minorities. To that, Musk replied, quote, "You have said the actual truth." A lot of people were upset by that, since Jewish groups compared Musk's statement to what's known as the Great Replacement Theory, which claims Jews have organized non-white immigrants to replace white populations. And with that, a coalition of more than 160 Jewish leaders, activists, and academics called on businesses to stop funding X through their ad spend. And it likely wasn't just about all of that. The left-wing nonprofit Media Matters for America also published a report last week that showed ads from major companies like Apple and Amazon right next to posts praising Hitler and Nazism. But Musk is pushing back. He posted over the weekend that X, quote, will be filing a thermonuclear lawsuit against Media Matters and all those who colluded in this fraudulent attack on our company. Advertising is X's biggest source of revenue. To be continued. Well, there was a surprise shakeup in what's arguably the hottest startup in the tech world. The co-founder and CEO of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, was abruptly fired on Friday. We're talking about Sam Altman, who took OpenAI from a small nonprofit to a multi-billion-dollar company at near record speed. It's not exactly clear why he was let go, but the company's chief operating officer put out a note saying the decision was just a breakdown in communication between Altman and the board. But now the whole future of OpenAI is up in the air. Because of Altman's firing, many high-level researchers resigned in protest, as well as the company's other co-founder and president. Some of the company's corporate customers are now looking for alternatives. And financing is in jeopardy, since OpenAI's largest investors, Microsoft and the venture firm Thrive Capital, are demanding Altman be reinstated. The Wall Street Journal says the company's board, investors, and Altman himself got together last night to talk about a scenario to bring him back. But Altman apparently had a list of demands that would need to be met for him to agree, and in the end, they could not reach a deal. So the former CEO of Twitch has been named interim CEO. As for Altman, the Journal says he's considering starting a new company that would bring on some of his former employees. So stay tuned. There is a new Miss Universe. For the first time, the crown went to Miss Nicaragua. But that was hardly the only first at this year's pageant. This year was also the first time there was a Miss Pakistan representing her country. She said she wanted to represent the rich Pakistani culture and heritage, so during the swimsuit competition, she wore a burkini. Then there was Miss Nepal, who made history as the first plus-sized contestant. Miss Colombia was the first mother to become a finalist. And Miss USA was the first Venezuelan American to represent the United States at a Miss Universe. She placed in the top 20. Well, that's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, support for today's episode comes from AG1. I gave AG1 a try because, as a busy parent and business owner, I'm always on the lookout for things that support my health and my energy levels and are convenient. So I was really intrigued by AG1. I reached out to them wanting to partner, and I've been really happy with my experience all around. I drink AG1 before I eat or drink anything else each morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on the day, especially around the holidays when I tend to eat those extra cookies and pie, and our schedules get all abnormal. It is so nice to know I have this go-to healthy habit every morning that I can come back to. AG1 replaces a lot of other supplements too, including a daily multivitamin, minerals, pre- and probiotics for gut health, adaptogens, and a greens blend, all in one scoop of powder mixed with water. So if you're looking for a simpler, effective investment for your health, try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/newsworthy. That's drinkag1.com/newsworthy. Check it out. Okay, now back to Money Monday. So Thanksgiving dinner might not cost you as much as it did last year. A new report from the American Farm Bureau Federation shows the average cost of a turkey dinner for 10 people with all the fixins will be about $61. That's down 4.5% from last year's record high when a bird flu outbreak devastated the U.S. turkey population. But it's not just turkey. 7 of the 11 ingredients typically used to make a traditional meal are less expensive than last year. That includes everything from peas and sweet potatoes to stuffing and pumpkin pie. Despite this year's Thanksgiving meal cost dropping as compared to last year, the Farm Bureau does say the overall cost is still expected to be about 25% higher than before the pandemic. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. If you're interested in getting our ad-free episodes, as well as supporting the work we do each day, join our Insider community. Simply go to thenewsworthy.com/insider for a 7-day free trial. And thank you, as always, to our new and longtime insiders for all of your support. Of course, we'll be back with more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.